Welcome to Flores United Methodist Church.
We are very excited that you are visiting with us.
We think you will find Flores UMC to be a church committed to its community.
In fact, when the community around Flores UMC grew, Flores UMC grew with it, leaving not one but two locations.
The vast majority of churches rarely leave their existing structure.
Our first church began in 1891, 122 years ago, on Centerville Road, just within a mile of where we are now. That small group of people wanted to experience the principles of John Wesley. Wesley emphasized personal holiness, social outreach, and dynamic worship.
Together, these principles form the basis of what is known as Methodism. The founders of Flores United Methodist Church met for Sunday school, followed by worship services led once a month by a Methodist preacher and other weeks by laypersons.
When they built the first church facility, it was out of a desire for Christ to be at the center of their lives and the church to be at the center of our community.
In the 1980s, when the Herndon community rapidly expanded with the development of what used to be dairy farms, Flores members made a difficult decision to leave behind their historic church building on the corner of Centerville and West Ox Roads.
They purchased a new property just down the road. Flores moved to 2730 Centerville Road in September of 1993. At the same time, the surrounding community around us began to change significantly. Flores responded and became actively engaged in community ministry, starting relationships with Hutchison Elementary, Grace Ministries, and English as a second language.
The best part of Camp Hutchison is working with all of the volunteers. It's just an enlightening activity every day to see all of the bright smiles from the volunteers and how they work. It's just wonderful with our students, and the amount of time and devotion that they give our students is just, we're just really blessed here at Hutchison to have such a great partnership. So that is probably the best part. And my second part are our kids coming in. I know they're safe during the summer. They're not out on the street. They're not home just sitting in front of the television playing video games, that they are engaged, they're learning, they're maintaining their skills, they're developing positive relationships with adults and other students. And this is just a fun, joyful place for them to be each day.
Our heart for families in need and children in poverty led to the creation of Helping Children Worldwide, the Child Rescue Center, and Mercy Hospital. We chose Sierra Leone because in the 1990s, it was the poorest of the poor nations. Children and families were shattered by civil war and guerrilla violence. We now have a network of 13 partner churches which support over 300 children in Bo, Sierra Leone.
As a family physician, what I saw in Sierra Leone was very much what I see in my office every day. Very treatable medical conditions that in this country we take for granted that they're curable, but in Bo would cost lives. It truly hampers an entire society to not have access to basic nutrition and basic health care. Through vaccines, basic medical care, education on how to prevent and treat simple diseases can mean the difference between life and death. As we drove away from one of our clinics on the last day, I looked back out of the back of the van and I saw a crowd of 30 children chanting the names of the providers, and these were the kids we couldn't see. We left behind crowds of people that have desperate need for medical care. And I can't leave them there untouched.
Within 5 years of being in the second building, it became evident that the facility and property would be too small to accommodate the growth of the church and the surrounding community. Another difficult decision was made to purchase a new piece of property at 13600 Frying Pan Road, just north of the very first church.
In April of 2006, Flores moved into the current location. Phase 2, which includes a sanctuary that seats 800 people, was completed in July 2010.
When I first came here and talked to the older members of the church and I said, what's Flores been about? What's the history been about? They always kept saying the same thing. Flores has always been at the center of its community. And we've, over time, in talking to them, the add-on to that was so that Christ could be at the center of people's lives. This building was not built for any of us. The same way that building was really not built for too many of us. This building has really been built largely for those who shall come, who are in our community now, who don't necessarily know Christ, or who need to be renewed in their faith, or who are looking for a place of community because they're new here and they are already Christians and they want a place to belong and a place to be a part of. When you go downstairs, I want you to think not just about, wow, aren't these nice big corridors, aren't these really nice rooms? Think about the ministry. Think about the ministry that'll happen in student space, and the lives that'll be transformed there. Think about when you see these meeting rooms, the kind of discipleship that happens there that changes lives, the meetings where we plan outreach into our community that blesses people who are on the margin of the economic cycle because of whatever issues they're facing. Think about all the things we're going to be able to do in that space. When you join it with the current space you have, it really is just a fantastic building.
Despite the growth of the church and the surrounding area, Flourish UMC remains true to the ideals of the original visionaries who sought to share Methodism, with its emphasis on personal holiness, social outreach, and dynamic worship in the community.
We believe that there is a place for you in what we are about and what we are doing. We have become what many consider a big church, yet Flores guests continually tell us about the warmth and friendliness of the church. That's because relationships make our church feel small.
Creating relationships is the key to fully experiencing what Flores is all about. The story of Flores is one of people who are willing to worship, grow, and serve in community, sharing Christ and changing the world.